and welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. Now, today's video was not one that I planned. I generally have an idea for a few videos ahead what I'm going to be doing, but this one has sort of taken on a life of its own, and I'm classing it as a trash to miniature treasure because it's made from junk. But it isn't really. It's just a nice little make that I really need to work on next week's video. So I thought I'd give you a chance to make one too. Now, you will already know from the thumbnail and the video title that I'm making a tiered tray today. Now, tiered trays, or so it appears to me, have a big following in America. I certainly see lots of decor videos, posts from Americans involving tiered trays decorated for just about every holiday, every season, any theme, whatever, somebody seems to have done it. I'm making a decor piece for my next video, and I needed to add some height, and I was looking for inspiration, and I saw a lot of these trays and thought, would it be possible? So of course, that's what's happening with this video. I'm proving that it is possible. So that said, and this is a bit of a journey into the unknown for me, because tiered trays aren't a big thing over here, not for decor. If we have a tiered tray, it tends to be a tiered cake tray, cake plates stacked up, and it tends to be filled with lovely treats for either dessert or afternoon tea. We tend to be a bit more practical in that respect, I think. But there might be people that do them over here. I just haven't come across many of them, not on my internet searches. So today's main material is going to be some cereal board. Bit of food packaging. You don't need a lot. I'm not going to use anywhere near this amount. And I'm also going to be using some ordinary cardstock. I'm using ordinary cardstock because I'm going to paint it, and although I could get some off this that is white on one side, I don't want to be having to try and cover printed bits. So I'm going to use some ordinary cardstock, but I will go into that more when we get to it, and some other ideas I've got for other things that you could use. So we've got our paperboard, food packaging, and I'm going to be using my circle punches. Now I've got 3 circle punches today in 3 different sizes, and these 2 are handily labelled as 1.5 inches, 1 inch, and that one is around about 1/2 inch. It's not quite, it's a little bit more I think, because it's actually measured in millimetres, but they work. I actually got the sizes for doing this off a tiered tray that was for sale online. I went looking to see whether that was going to be too big, but it seems that they come quite large, which probably explains some of the displays that I've seen on them in pictures. They're actually pretty damn big. So first step is going to be to punch even 2 circles of each size, and then I'm going to glue them together, and that's going to be the start of the tiered tray. Now I've got my circles doubled up, glued together, and I find that this gives me a nice sturdy material that doesn't bend easily, which is why I'm not going to be using it for doing my little edging to my trays. Some people would be like, well, isn't it a lot of trouble? Couldn't you just use something stronger? Well, yeah, I could, but I can't get stronger materials free. This doesn't cost me anything because we buy the cereal. I just keep the boxes because it's a reasonable sized piece of material. That's why I go for cereal boxes, because you get quite a big piece. Not something you get very often with free materials, but that's why cereal boxes. You can obviously use smaller boxes for smaller pieces. I've actually used a side for this. Side of a cereal box, punch my circles out, great. So, those are the trays. The upright section that will hold the trays up, I'm using a cocktail stick now, or toothpick. I've cut one end off already, so I've got a flat end. And I'm going to be putting something on the other end to decorate it a bit later on. You can, if you've got them, use the decorative versions that you get. I can't find any at the moment. I know I've got some about somewhere, so I'll make do with what I've got. Now, not all toothpicks are created equal. I've got two different sorts. Now these, which cost a little bit more, are actually circular. The others, which I use more for glue and paint, are not so circular. Now this one is only flattened on one side, but I've got some that are almost completely flattened. They're great for getting into little crevices, but not so much if you want something that's going to be on display. So please bear that in mind when you're looking for these pieces. Cheap and cheerful is not always useful in this circumstance. Now I'm just going to say I seem to be up against it today. I've got something on my desk that keeps moving. This table is doing my head in. It's got adjustable feet so you can get it level, and I keep leveling it up and then it keeps ending up wobbly. I don't know what's going on with it. It's not the table that I used to film on, and if it carries on like this, it won't be the table that I film on for all that much longer. But aside from that, I used to live near an airfield, and occasionally at certain times of year we would get a lot of planes going over. I don't live there anymore, obviously I moved last year, but today I've had a lot of what I will call jet fighters going over. So it's making me a little bit nervy, because I think we've had about 3 lots so far, and it's definitely louder than me, which means all kinds of problems when we come to do the sound. So if I seem a bit odd in this video, I am jumping about, I am having to redo little bits while it's just the talking, and hopefully, fingers crossed, once I actually start making, it won't interrupt me anymore. Now, obviously I've got my trays, the basis of my trays, I've got my upright, I need to put the two together. The first one could be quite easy. I could just glue that onto the flat. I'm not going to. I'm going to make holes in it with this little tiny hole punch. This is what they class as a ticket punch, and it makes a small hole. Now if I just show you, there's some of my bit that I've been cutting my circles from. You can see it's small. Actually, I've been cutting circles from this for more than just this project, but that's besides the point. So I've got a small hole that I can then get the cocktail stick into, toothpick into, with a nice bit of glue. That should stay in place quite happily. So I'm going to figure out where my first hole's got to go, and I'm going to punch the hole. Then what I'll do using that is I will do a bit of a lining them up on the one side and putting a pencil mark through onto the other so I can make the holes in all of them. And then we can make some trays. I have my holes. Now the smallest one I've actually measured, and it's actually 5/8 of an inch, about 16 mil. Hopefully when I put these together they're going to be even enough for me. They don't have to be perfect because well, I don't expect things to be perfect, but yeah, I think that is going to do. Now if you wanted to make a cake stand, I would advise using something to hold them in place, but I think that would do. Bit of glue, put it together, great. Now I'm going to take them off because obviously I want these to be a tiered tray, so I want an edge around the tray. Now, as I said, I stacked them up and made the hole from the other side. Well, made a mark from the other side and then did the hole. To get the centre of the first one, I printed one. I'm obsessed with printing today. I punched one out of a bit of scrap paper, and I actually got it a little bit, I folded it to find the centre, and then I still ended up with the hole off centre, but I marked that one a little bit off as well, so it works better. But that's just my little trick. If you don't want to line them all up like that, you can just punch them out of some scrap paper and fold it to find the middle. Really easy, little templatey thing. No problem at all. So next step is going to be the bit for the tray, and I've got a few suggestions for that, but I'm just using cardstock. Now, as I said, to turn the discs into trays, I'm going to be using some cardstock. This is 180 GSM cardstock. It's the stuff that I normally put through my printer, and all I've done is I've cut a strip off, which will hopefully be enough to do all 3 trays, using my paper cutter. And I'm going to glue this round as I've done on several other videos making trays. I'm going to start around the outside at some point, and I'm going to attach it, glue it all the way around in little bits. So if I just start this one off, I'm going to get a small amount of glue, pop it onto my flat disc, and attach the cardstock. What I do find is that you need to actually sit here and hold it, so I'm going to finish this off camera. Now if you want something a bit more decorative, you might be able to use some of the decorative scissors. You might be able to use some decorative paper punches. If you've got the edge punches, you might be able to get a very thin piece off some of them. I don't think I've got one I could do that with. Or you could possibly use some lace. Now if you were to use some lace that was quite stiff anyway, you could make a filigree edge. Now I haven't got anything suitable, I haven't got anything thin enough. If I was going to make one in 1/6 scale for like a fashion doll, I could definitely use the glue. You just need to use use the lace. You'd need to use plenty of glue to actually ensure that it was stiffened and stayed in place. So, you know, it's an option. There are ways of doing other more fancy edges to your tiered tray, but I'm just going to go for the very, very basic cardstock rim today. So let's get on with it. Now, just to show you how I finish this off, once I get to the end, I obviously trim my strip of cardstock down, and I fasten the last piece in and put a little bit of glue so that it overlaps. Now if you're making something bigger, you might be able to put a little clothespin on there just to hold it in place, or a little paper, not so much a paper clip, you know, the little like springy clips that are a bit that you use for holding papers together. Anyway, I'll just clean up my little bit of glue there because the glue does run over, and then I'll put this one aside to dry. But that's all you need to do to finish it off. And then all I do is when I arrange this, I will arrange all these joints on one side, and then that will become the back of my piece. But that is the first tray for my tiered tray complete. So I am ready now to put the tiered tray together. My 3 trays are constructed. Now the bottom tray I have made some little feet for, so it's not sitting on anything flat, and I've put another little circle over the hole in the bottom, which is to give my rod some support. Now I used another one of my little ticket punch hole punches to make these, and I've made the little feet just using 2 layers of the cereal box material, and then obviously there's one in the middle, and I will shortly glue that into that hole, and it will just help it because there's something underneath it. Now to give some support for the upper trays, I have decided I'm going to use a little bit of the leftover cardstock, and with that in mind I have wrapped some around the toothpick so far up. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of glue around the toothpick where the top of the cardstock is, like so. I'm not going to need a lot of glue, and I'm going to get this, which is the middle of the 3 trays, and I'm going to slide it down and push it into position against the piece of cardstock. And I'm going to, yeah, that looks straight. I'm going to repeat that process by wrapping a little bit more of this around the top, somewhere around there, and then I'll fit that one into place. But I'm going to let this dry for a moment first, and then I'll prep that, and then we'll put the rest of it together. Now the glue has set on the bottom tray, and I have put my second little piece of cardstock in place towards the top, and again I'm going to put my glue onto the toothpick and the top of that cardstock where it's wrapped around it. It's not going to take much, and we're going to put the top tray on. Now I'm doing it this way, and I've just realised I haven't lined that up. Okay, I can move that one, I can line them up so that my 2 joints are on the same side. Now I could, if I really wanted to, put some more, another little scrap of this above that top tray, but I'm going to put something on top of that shortly to decorate it. And yes, I know the top tray is slightly off, it's not perfect. It is what it is though. So I'm now going to put some glue into the hole of the bottom tray. I want to put a reasonable amount in there so that it's all around the hole, and ready to go. And then we are going to line that up like so and make the tiered tray. Now what has happened obviously is some of the glue has oozed out at the bottom, and I'm just going to tidy that up because I don't want big blobs of it. I don't mind covering little bits up with some paint, but we don't want big globs. And there is the basic tiered tray. Now I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to add a little decoration and then I'm going to paint it. So I'm going to let it dry before I stick the little bit that I want to put on the top, and I'll show you that quickly and then I will be painting it. I have added a little bit of glue to the top of my tray and I'm still not happy with that top one. And I've got a little tiny pearl bead that I'm going to pop on the top. Now I'm going to pop it on like that, and that's just going to give me a nice little finish to the piece. Now if I get my cocktail stick and a bit more glue, what I can do is I can just pop a bit of glue over the top hole, and then when that dries it shouldn't be quite so sunk in. Hopefully once I paint it you won't that's why it's slipping and sliding. Although the glue is touch dry, it's not completely set yet. So I'm going to leave this now to set off completely, and then when I come back it will be painted. I'm going to paint it white. I'm not a big one for painting things white because I find that the white finish isn't always a great finish, but I think white is going to be the most versatile colour for this. I know for me it would probably actually be black because then I could use it for any holiday, but I'm going to paint it white. You can even use white in spooky scenes. Well, ghosts are supposed to be white, aren't they? So I'm going to get this all painted and I'll see you shortly. And here is my finished tiered tray. Now I'm pretty happy with this. It could be better, but I'm going to confess this is the first one I've made. Normally before I make something on a video I will try it out and make sure that it works, and then I can show you a slightly different version. But I literally had the idea and decided I'm going to start filming this and share it with you all. I think this is going to work pretty well. Now if I put this up like that, and if I just pick some random little bits that happen to be still on my desk, I really need to tidy up. I've got a couple of beads here and I can fit pieces onto the tray, and I can tip it slightly if I use my fingers to make sure the beads don't fly everywhere so that you can see it. Obviously when I come to decorate it I'm going to have to be careful because I'm probably going to have to stick pieces into place, or this is a thought I've had, I'm going to have to make some clear plastic inserts that will fit around with the pieces on so that things don't move about too much. But I've got some good amount of room on there for adding little decorative pieces, and this would be a great item to put into your miniature scene if you want to create something really decorative. You could cover it with plants, you could cover it with, oh I don't know, maybe even some sweet treats, possibly a bit big for using as a cake stand, but there's lots of possibilities and we always like things with lots of possibilities. All I have done is just painted it with some white acrylic paint. It might look better if it's got more of a shine or sheen to it, but I didn't want to get all the brush marks that I might get covering it with some Mod Podge, so I've just left it as is. So if you want to see what I'm going to do with this, I'd stay tuned for next week's video, because this is going to feature strongly. If you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you have, please like, comment and subscribe. It all helps my channel. And consider ringing the notification bell, and then YouTube will let you know when I put up the next video, and hopefully every other video as well. I try to upload every week. I aim for a Friday, but I don't guarantee anything because real life does have a habit of getting in the way, and there's not a lot we can do about that, is there? But until next time, bye.